Passing on financial security to the next generation is often a goal for so many families. We know it's rarely easy, but it's definitely possible. Michael Yoshida has a look at how people of color are making the dream of generational wealth a reality.
For years, minorities in America have struggled to build wealth they can pass on to future generations. Experts say obstacles like redlining and predatory lending limited opportunities.
Structural racism that was explicitly designed to keep some communities out and keep them from actually being able to access exactly the assets that would then in turn build wealth.
The Urban Institute is based in Washington, D.C. and works to equip local leaders across the country with data and tools to advance upward mobility and help families thrive. Michael Neal is one of its senior fellows.
Structural racism is oftentimes the trauma that communities of color can sometimes face when they're engaging with money. And so ensuring that we also have that kind of support system in place, that as they access their credit score, as they fill out the applications to say purchase a home, that any of those emotional barriers are rooted out so that they can continue along the process successfully. According
to the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, nearly 35% of white families reported receiving an inheritance or gift, compared to about 13% of black families in 2019. And those white families on average received nearly $150,000 more than black families. But there are change makers committed to closing the gap.
I am the disruptor when it comes to finance.
Darvintia Warren founded Core DMV, a financial empowerment and workforce development firm. It serves the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area.
Our mission is to make financial freedom accessible to all. You're not going to see me at the typical function, but you will see me at the basketball game or with the entertainers or with the youth.
Warren is partnered with Baltimore County Schools and offers financial literacy courses for students, families, and staff. But her program goes beyond the classroom and allows people to apply what they've learned.
We incorporate the real tax advantage tools with a stipend that would allow them sort of seed money to start that growth account. So in the end, they've been empowered, they've been educated, but they can also now take action.
Action, Warren hopes, will help communities build financial legacies for generations to come. In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Well, for decades, Atlanta has been a hub for black business owners to build their wealth. Right now, 10% of companies in Metro Atlanta are black owned. In fact, Atlanta has the highest share of black owned businesses in the country, according to the latest census data. Atlanta's high ranking is likely tied to several factors, including a larger base of potential business owners, along with a high concentration of HBCUs, of course, proud HBCU grad, and strong local networking.